You're a lying piece of filth, and now you'll pay for my cheating wife.
I was holding a giant teddy bear in my hands, one of those oversized plush ones you win at carnivals or find in the corner of a teenage girl's room. That damn thing ruined my marriage. Sounds stupid? Yeah. Wait till you hear the whole story. My name's Howard Sims, just an average guy, really. The kind of neighbor you'd probably like to have. I fix stuff. I barbecue on weekends. I hang Halloween lights like it's an art form, and I cover my roof in Christmas bulbs every December, even when it's freezing outside. I run a small business, appliance installation. Washers, dryers, kitchen stuff. I've been doing it for years. On the side, I tinker with old motorcycles. Nothing fancy, just a hobby. It keeps my hands busy. I like that. I trust my hands more than I trust people. But my real obsession was Lucy. We've got history, her and I. Old history, messy, real. We started dating in high school. She had these sharp green eyes, the kind that make you forget what you were saying, and this wild, wavy hair she never tried to tame. Everyone in town looked at her like she was too big for our place. Too good, but she was mine. I gave her my class ring senior year. That's a big deal in Texas. Bigger than a promise ring. It's like telling the world she's taken by me. She wore it on a chain around her neck, and I was proud. But after graduation, everything cracked. We were sitting in her car outside my parents' house. The AC was busted, and her cheeks were red, eyes kind of glassy. That was the night she gave the ring back. "I'm sorry, Howie," she said, pressing it into my palm like it burned her. It won't work. I'm going to Colorado. You're going to Austin." "That's too far." "We can make it work," I said, almost begging. She shook her head. "You don't understand. I don't want to try. I need to move on. You should too." And just like that, she walked out of my life. Left me there with a sweaty palm and a cold piece of metal. That ring stayed in my sock drawer for years. I couldn't even look at it. 2 years I spent licking those wounds, nights alone, friends dragging me to bars. One night mistakes I couldn't even name. Then came Katie. She was nothing like Lucy. Katie had quiet eyes, soft voice, mousy brown hair always tied back, neat like everything else about her. She wasn't the kind of girl who turned heads, but she listened. She smiled at my dumb jokes. And for a guy like me, freshly broken and bitter, that was enough. She told me I was her first. I didn't ask, but she said it like it meant something. I believed her. We got married fast. Too fast, maybe, but no one questioned it. Folks in town like to see men settle down, especially a guy like me, still carrying a shadow of Lucy around like a ghost. Katie and I moved back to our hometown. We tried to build something, a home, a life, and for a while it felt right. Then our daughter was born. She only lived 3 months. Her name was Maggie. We buried her on a cloudy Thursday. Katie stopped talking after that, stopped laughing. Stopped living, really, and I didn't know how to fix her. 3 years later, Katie got sick. Cancer, one of the mean ones. The kind that takes everything and doesn't give a damn how good you've been in life. 6 months. That's all she had. I watched her fade away in that bed, skin hanging off her bones like wet paper. And when it was over, I didn't cry. Not really. I just stood there, numb. People sent casseroles. Told me God had a plan. I told them to shove it. After that, I buried myself in work. Kept my head down. Friends tried to hook me up. Their cousin, their coworker, their neighbor from church. "Come on, man," my buddy Barry said once. "You're a catch." Women love a guy who can fix a leaky sink and hold a conversation. But I wasn't biting. I smiled, nodded, said maybe next time. Eventually, they stopped asking. And that's when Lucy came back into my life. I thought my heart was shut for good. Locked up and buried 6 feet under. Then I heard Lucy was back in town. I'd be lying if I said I didn't want to see her. I did. Bad. But I wasn't going to chase her. Hell no. If she wanted to talk, she knew where to find me. And a week later, she showed up at my shop. Just walked right in like no time had passed. "Hey, stranger," she said with that same smile that used to melt me down in high school. "Still smell like motor oil and bad coffee, huh?" I looked up from the workbench, almost dropped my wrench. "Lucy?" I blinked. "Well, I'll be damned." She laughed. "That's what you're going with? After 10 years? What do you want me to say? You look exactly the same, maybe better. And it was true. She hadn't changed. Her figure still had that tight little waist, long legs, red nails, same swing in her hips when she walked. Her voice still had that bird-song tone, light, fast, flirtatious, the kind that made you forget what day it was. I was driving by and thought, what the hell? I'll stop in, see if Howie still remembers me. I do, I said. Pretty hard to forget the girl who ripped my heart out and mailed it back in a jewelry box. Oof, that bad, huh? Worse, I muttered, half smiling. She tilted her head. Well, if it makes you feel any better, I got divorced last year. Yeah? I leaned against the workbench, arms crossed. What happened? Doesn't matter, she shrugged. Boring story, bad timing, bad guy, the usual. I didn't press. Didn't feel like bleeding old wounds. So what? You just up and moved back here? I can work from anywhere, she said. Still run my fabric shop online. Figured if I'm going to start fresh, might as well do it somewhere I know the streets and the coffee doesn't suck. You still drink that hazelnut crap? She grinned. Every morning. We ended up talking all night. I closed the shop early. We sat out back, cracked open a couple of beers, and just talked. About stupid things. People we used to know. Music. Life turning sideways. She leaned into me at one point, touched my hand without thinking. You ever think about us? She asked. Only every day, I said. And she didn't laugh, didn't pull away. She just whispered, me too. And we kissed. Next night, I took her out to dinner. Nothing fancy, ribs, cold beer, and a booth where we didn't have to shout over the music. She laughed at all my dumb stories, touched my hand every time she wanted to make a point. Her eyes were locked on me like I was the only man in the room. When I drove her back to my place, I didn't ask if she wanted to come in. She walked in like she never left. We didn't talk much after that. Just let it happen. Like we were 18 again. Clumsy, hungry, too loud, too fast, and not giving a damn about anything but each other. We made love all night. I couldn't get enough of her. Like I was trying to make up for every year we lost. When morning came, she was lying on my chest, breathing slow. Hair messy, lips swollen, legs tangled in my sheets like she belonged there. You always this intense? She whispered, smiling against my skin. Only for you, I said. I felt 20 years younger. Hell, I felt immortal. So I did what any fool in love would do. I threw a party. Barbecue out back, full spread. Burgers, ribs, slaw, beer on ice. I invited every friend I had, every neighbor within shouting distance. People came with lawn chairs and paper plates, their kids running wild around the yard. And when everyone had a beer in hand and sauce on their face, I stood up on the deck and tapped my bottle like a mic. I got something to say, I said. Folks quieted down. Lucy was standing next to me, her hand in mine. Y'all know it's been a rough few years. But life's funny. Just when you think it's done with you, it throws you a miracle. Lucy and I, we're back, and we're better than ever. There was clapping, whistling, a few surprised faces. Barry came up to me later, burger in one hand, beer in the other. Didn't think I'd see the day. Yeah, I said, looking over at Lucy. She was laughing with the women, glass of rosé in hand, hips swaying to some old country song. She's it for me, man. Always was. We were both 42, and I thought, hell, we've still got forever ahead of us. Lucy couldn't sit still if her life depended on it. Most mornings, I'd wake up alone, just her side of the bed still warm and the faint smell of perfume in the air. She was always on the move, driving off to Austin, Dallas, even New Orleans once, chasing rare fabric, meeting with big-name clients, sealing deals like it was nothing. She wasn't just running a business, she was the business. The way she moved, the way she talked, the way she lit up a room, it was like she'd never run out of fuel. She was a tornado, loud, fast, bright, impossible to ignore, and she brought all that color and noise right into my house. After years of silence, grief, and ghost memories, the place suddenly felt alive again. She played music while she cooked, that old Stevie Nicks kind of vibe, and danced barefoot in the kitchen. She painted the walls without asking. Moved my tools around in the garage, threw out half my shirts and replaced them with ones that fit my new energy. And in bed? Jesus. Lucy didn't sleep. She consumed. Her body was always hungry. Her hands, her mouth, her whole spirit. like she'd been locked up for years and just got out. I'm not saying I didn't enjoy it. I did, every second of it. But there were nights she left me feeling like an old man chasing a high school girl. Her libido was insane, like a teenager discovering the world and trying to taste everything from every angle. "You okay?" she'd whisper in the dark, her legs still wrapped around me. "I need water and an ambulance," I'd mutter, half laughing, half serious. She'd just giggle, nuzzle into me, and fall asleep like a cat curled up in sunlight. After 2 months of that madness, the laughs, the moans, the constant motion, I couldn't take it anymore. I proposed. She said yes before I even finished the sentence. We got married in my backyard, under the same oak tree where I used to hang Christmas lights for Katie. I took him down that morning. Felt like a clean start. Barry, our old classmate, raised his beer and said, "Finally." "Took you too long enough." Everyone cheered. Even the pastor cracked a smile. Lucy looked like a movie star in white. Hair curled, lipstick bold, eyes wild and shining. She kissed me hard like she meant it. And in that moment, I honestly believed I'd won. Like life had handed me a second shot. And this time I'd do it right. After a while, I started noticing things. Lucy wasn't home as much. At first, it was a night here and there, meetings that ran long, deliveries that couldn't wait. Then it turned into full weekends away. She'd say she was staying in a motel because it was too late to drive back. Said it so casual, like I was supposed to be fine with it. I wasn't. I was eating dinner alone 4 nights a week, sitting at a table for 2, staring at her empty chair and chewing on cold ribs. The house felt loud with her, but hollow without her. One night I just snapped. She came through the door around midnight. She dropped her bag on the floor. "Where the hell have you been?" I asked. She blinked, tilted her head. "Working. Working doesn't take you out till midnight. Working doesn't mean you stop answering your phone for 6 hours. She kicked off her shoes. "Jesus, Howard, you sound like my father." "No," I said, stepping toward her. "I sound like your husband." That got her attention. For a second, her smile dropped. "I don't like coming home to an empty house," I said. "I don't like eating alone. I don't like wondering where the hell my wife is." She raised her chin. "I'm not some house pet you get to keep on a leash." "I didn't say that." "But that's what you want, isn't it? A little quiet wife who stays put and waits for you like a porch dog." "Lucy, I'm a grown woman," she snapped. "I know my limits. I know my life. I don't need permission to go where I want." "I'm not asking for control," I said, voice low. "I'm asking for respect." She laughed. "I love you, Howard. I do. But I love myself more. Always have." She moved toward the stairs. "If you can't handle that, I'll leave. Again, just say the word." I stood there, jaw clenched, heart going a mile a minute, the air between us thick enough to choke on. But I didn't say it. I couldn't lose her again. So I swallowed it, nodded. Bit my tongue. And that night I told myself I'd learn to live with it. Learn to play by her rules. But what happened next? No man should have to live with that. Not ever. One evening I pulled into the driveway after work. Sweaty, tired, hungry. And then I heard it, laughter, a man's voice. I froze. Keys still in my hand. It was coming from inside the house. My house. Through the living room window I saw them. Lucy on the couch, her legs curled up under her, leaning in close to some young guy I'd never seen before. He had his arm around her. They were laughing like old friends. No, like lovers. My red fluid shot straight to my face. My hand shook. She's cheating on me. In my house. In my living room. With some baby-faced guy who looked like he still got carded for beer. I kicked the door open so hard it slammed against the wall. "What the hell is this?" They jumped. The guy stood up fast, like he knew well he wasn't supposed to be there. "Who the hell are you?" I shouted, pointing at him. Lucy stood, arms out like she could calm me down. "Howard, it's not what it looks like." "Oh, don't even start with that non-CC," I yelled. "You're seriously pulling that line?" The guy lifted his hands, backing up slightly. "Wait, man, please, just let me explain." I didn't let him finish. I punched him, hard, right in the mouth. Felt the crack in my knuckles. Watched him stumble back, fall over the coffee table, and land on the floor like a sack of crap. Lucy screamed. "Howard, what the hell is wrong with you?" "What's wrong with me?" I snapped, breathing heavy. "Howard, this is my son," Lucy said. I froze. I swear the room tilted. The guy, the one I just knocked on his A, stood up, wiping crimson smear off his lip. "Leo," she said, her voice shaking now. "His name is Leo." I stared at him, at her. At both of them standing there like this was normal. "What?" I said. Quiet. Cold. "What are you talking about?" "You heard me," she said, softer this time. "He's my son." I looked back at the kid. He couldn't have been more than 20. My jaw locked. "You never said anything. You never told me you had a kid, not once." She stepped toward me, arms low, palms open, like I was some animal that might bolt. "Howard, please sit down. Let me explain." "Explain?" I laughed. But it wasn't funny. "You've been living in my house, sleeping in my bed. We got married, Lucy, and you never mentioned you had a son?" She walked into the kitchen, came back with a glass of water, pressed it into my hand like I was the one losing my mind. "I didn't know how to tell you. You lied to me," I said. She didn't argue. We sat in silence for a while, the kind that buzzes in your ears and makes you feel like the air's gone thick. Then Lucy finally spoke. "It was in college," she said, not looking at me. "Before my first marriage, before anything, I was 18, maybe 19. I stared at the floor, still couldn't meet her eyes. There was this party. One of those wild nights, too much alcohol, too many strangers. You know how college can be." I didn't answer. "We were playing this game, daisy chain," she said, like the words tasted weird coming out of her mouth. It was stupid. I didn't even know all the guys. I wasn't in control. I looked up slowly. Her face was pale, but her voice didn't shake. Not anymore. "I got pregnant. Didn't know who the father was. Didn't even want to think about it. Termination. I couldn't. I was too scared, too ashamed." "So you just gave him away," I said flatly. "I had no choice," she whispered. "I couldn't raise a baby. I wasn't ready. I couldn't go home with a child and no husband. My parents would have lost their minds." "So you gave him up," I repeated, and never said a word about it. She nodded. "He was adopted. Good family, from what I heard. Then, last year, he found me. Sent me a letter. We met. It was strange at first, but..." She smiled. She reached out her hand to Leo, and he shook it as a sign of support. Her whole face lit up. "He's amazing, Howard. Smart, kind, funny. He's studying architecture. He even looks like me a little." Her eyes were shining like she'd won the lottery. I just sat there, stunned. All I could think about was the way she'd kept this hidden. From me, from everyone. That same tornado energy that made me fall for her was now sweeping up pieces of her past and dropping them right on my goddamn head. "I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner," she said, "but I was scared. And I was just so happy to have him in my life again." I nodded, slowly. Like maybe if I kept nodding, I'd convince myself it was okay. Then came the next bombshell. "Do you think Leo could stay with us for a while?" she asked, her voice soft but steady. Just like that. "I mean, just for a bit," she said. "He's between places. His lease is up and the dorms are full. It won't be long." I stared at her. "You're serious?" She blinked. "Of course I'm serious. You want your 20-year-old son, the one you never told me about, to move into our house?" She frowned, like she hadn't expected pushback. "It's my house too, Howard." I motioned for her to follow me outside. We stepped out onto the porch, away from Leo. I folded my arms, trying to stay calm. "Look, first of all, you dropped this whole I have a son thing on me. You let me marry you without knowing something this big. And now I'm supposed to just open the door and play dad? He's not asking you to be his father." "Damn right he's not." She crossed her arms now too. "Howard, this isn't about you. This is about Leo. He's my son. I gave him up. I've missed everything. And now, life's giving me another chance. I'm not turning my back on him again. I didn't ask you to. No, you just don't want him here," she shot back. "Because it's inconvenient, because it makes you uncomfortable." I didn't say that. "You didn't have to." She was shaking now, her voice cracked. "I already feel like crap every time I look at him, like I failed him." And now he wants to be in my life, and I finally have the guts to be there. And you're telling me I can't? Lucy, no, you don't love me. Not really. If you did, you'd understand how much this matters. She covered her face with her hands. Tears came hard and fast. I'm a horrible person, she sobbed. I abandoned my own baby. I live with that guilt every day. And now I'm trying to do one right thing, and you're stopping me. She collapsed onto the porch swing, crying like the world was ending. And what the hell was I supposed to say to that? I walked over, sat beside her, laid my hand on her back. Okay, I whispered. I'm not a monster. He can stay. For a while. She looked up at me with watery eyes, nodding, grateful. I forced a smile, but something in my chest felt tight, like a door had shut, quietly, somewhere deep inside me. It wasn't easy getting used to another man in my house, especially one I didn't know, one who showed up out of nowhere and turned everything sideways. Leo was messy. He left the damn toothpaste open every morning. His dirty clothes piled up in the bathroom like he was still living in a college dorm. And Lucy, she didn't seem to notice or care. She spent most of her time with him, showing him around town, taking him to all the good restaurants, introducing him to people like she was proud. I told myself, she's his mom. She's making up for lost time. Let her have this. But part of me didn't buy it. Part of me hated it. And slowly, I started to feel something I hadn't in a long time. Jealousy. Not the hot, young kind, the cold, bitter kind that eats you up from the inside. It crept into our bedroom, too. Lucy, the woman who used to wear me out like we were still in high school, suddenly turned ice cold. Making love? Once every 2 weeks, if I was lucky. And even then, it felt mechanical, like she was doing it out of duty. At first, I blamed her. Then, I blamed Leo. But the truth? It was me. Something wasn't right. I started losing interest. I couldn't get it up, more than once. Lucy would touch me, the way she always used to, and nothing. Like a switch flipped off in my body. It scared the hell out of me. I chalked it up to stress, the tension, the stranger in my home. But then came the real slap in the face. One afternoon, I walked into the kitchen and caught Leo, red-handed, reaching into my wallet on the counter. What the hell do you think you're doing? I barked. He jumped like a rat caught in a trap. I thought it was mine. Oh, you thought it was yours. I stepped closer, fists tight. You thought my wallet on my kitchen counter full of my money was yours? He backed up fast. Look, Howie, I'm sorry. You're not sorry, I snapped. You're a thief, and don't call me Howie. I was ready to throw him out right there. Drag him by the collar and dump him on the front lawn. Then Lucy came running in from the hallway. What's going on? She asked, panicked. Ask your son, I growled. I caught him stealing from me. She turned to Leo. Is that true? I didn't mean to, he muttered. I needed cash. I should have asked. Lucy looked torn, angry, confused, but not at me, at the situation. She stepped in between us. Howard, calm down. No, I said. He steals from me, in my own house, and I need to calm down? She turned to Leo. You can't do that, baby. That's not okay. You have to promise you won't do it again. He nodded. I promise, I swear. And that was it. No consequences. No real punishment. Just a soft scolding and a half-a apology. Lucy wrapped her arms around him like I was the one who needed comforting. And I just stood there, watching this play unfold in my kitchen, feeling like the stranger in my own damn home. I didn't want to go to the clinic. Hell, what man does want to sit in a doctor's office and talk about how his own body's letting him down? But I'd had enough quiet panic in the mirror, enough moments lying next to Lucy feeling like half a man. I needed answers, so I went. The clinic was small, that fake clean smell of disinfectant and waiting room coffee. Howard Sims? The nurse called out. I stood, nodded, followed her down the hall. Landry was a middle-aged guy, thinning hair, glasses low on his nose, friendly but not too friendly. He sat behind a little desk, tapping on a keyboard when I walked in. He looked up. Mr. Sims, what brings you in today? I shifted in the chair. It's performance stuff, bedroom. He nodded like he saw 5 of me a day. How long's it been going on? Few weeks, maybe more. Just no drive. And when there is, it doesn't last. Any pain? Discomfort? No. Just failure. He tapped some notes, then leaned back. Stress? Sleep? Change in meds? No meds. Stress, maybe. I hesitated. My wife's son moved in recently. It's been tense. He nodded again. Any changes in energy? Mood? Appetite? I thought about it. More tired than usual, maybe a little foggy. Not depressed, just off. Okay, he said, and typed for another minute, then handed me a paper slip. We'll start with blood work, he said. Testosterone levels, thyroid, glucose, a few other things. If nothing shows up there, we'll dig deeper. I took the paper and stood. How long for results? Couple days, we'll call you. I nodded. Thanks, Doc. I didn't know what I was afraid of more, that they'd find something, or that they wouldn't. For Lucy's birthday, I went all out. I spent the whole week getting ready, strung up lights in the backyard, rented a big grill, even ordered custom cupcakes from that overpriced bakery she liked downtown. She always said I was her teddy bear, so I leaned into it. Got her this giant teddy, one of those massive plush things you see at carnivals. Took up half the living room, but this one wasn't just soft and oversized. I had a mic installed inside the chest. And when she hugged it, it played a recording I made of me singing her favorite song. Not perfect. Hell, I was off key half the time, but it was mine. From me. For her. People clapped when they heard it. She laughed, even wiped a tear. And then Leo stepped forward. He handed her a bouquet. Messy, uneven, stems still wet. Where'd you get those? Someone asked. He grinned. Out back, by the fence. Everyone awed. Lucy kissed his cheek like he'd given her gold. I stood there, smiling through my teeth. Those flowers? I planted them myself, tended them all season, kept the deer off them with homemade spray, watched every damn bloom open, and now they were his gift. So original, huh? A few nights later, I woke up in the dark, throat dry as sandpaper. I reached for the water glass on the nightstand, empty. I groaned, pushed the covers off. That's when I noticed Lucy wasn't in bed. I sat there a second, staring at the empty side of the mattress. The sheets were cold. I got up, padded down the hallway in bare feet, still half asleep. Then I heard it. Voices. Low, muffled, coming from Leo's room. I froze. Something wrong? Why were they up? At this hour? I moved closer, heart thudding for no good reason. Their door was cracked open just enough. I peeked in. They were sitting on his bed, real close, like close. Her hand was on his back. His head leaned toward her shoulder. For a split second, I swear, I thought they were holding each other. My brain recoiled. No way, she's his mother, he's her son, what's wrong with you? Lucy looked up and saw me. She pulled back slightly from Leo, like she realized how it must have looked. Howard, she said, soft and calm. He had another nightmare. Leo didn't say a word, just stared at the floor. Lucy stood up and walked toward me. He gets them a lot, she whispered. Foster homes, bad memories. Sometimes he screams in his sleep. She looked tired, concerned, but not guilty. I heard him and came in to calm him down. I nodded slowly. Okay. She touched my arm. Go back to bed, honey. I'll be there in a minute. I stared at them one more time, then turned and walked back to our room. Told myself I was being paranoid, that I needed sleep, that I trusted her, that there was no other explanation. But later, it was quiet that afternoon. Lucy and Leo were out. Grocery run, they said, or maybe brunch. I was alone, and that used to mean peace. Now, it just meant the air felt heavier. I was walking past the living room when I saw it. That big teddy bear, slumped in the corner like a fat, useless witness. The one I gave her. The one she hugged when I sang her that song. I stared at it for a second, then walked over and pressed. Only this time, it wasn't me singing. At first, it was quiet, just rustling, breathing, the soft squeak of a bed. Then I heard it, a moan, sharp, female, familiar. Lucy. Then a whisper, low, breathy, soaked in desire. Do you want it like that? Another moan. His voice now. Oh, yeah. Don't stop. Then a wet sound, a kiss, then more. Wait, Lucy giggled. You're gonna make me finish already. Leo's voice, rough. Good, I like when you fall apart. Then another slap, of skin. Bodies moving, moaning, breathing hard. Lucy gasping. Say it again. Leo, you feel so good, baby. I didn't move. I couldn't. The breath caught in my throat like a fist around my windpipe. Baby. He called her baby. She moaned louder. Don't stop. Don't ever stop. I let go of the bear like it bit me. It flopped forward, still whispering sin from its stitched grin. I stumbled back, hand over my mouth. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. I wanted to scream. Instead, I walked outside, clutching the porch rail like a drowning man grabs driftwood. My pulse was hammering so loud I could hear it in my ears. My wife and her son. And then the thought came. Cruel, sudden, cold. What if he's not even her son? I staggered into the yard, pacing, circling the tree, my boots crunching the grass like broken glass. I remembered everything. The story, the foster homes, the dramatic reappearance, the guilt, the tears. The way she moved her body between us that night in the hallway like she was protecting him. I remembered how he wore my shoes, my shirt, how she let him. I remembered the way she stopped touching me the week he moved in. The way she laughed too loud at his stupid jokes. The way he looked at her like he owned her. And I felt something inside me twist so hard it nearly broke. I was the fool, the tool. And they were laughing at me behind closed doors, in the dark, under my own roof. They don't get to walk away from this. I couldn't stay in that house. Not one more night. Not with them there, breathing the same air, walking barefoot over the same floors. So I packed a bag, grabbed my keys, and drove. I went to Barry's. Same Barry from high school, the guy who once cheered Lucy and me on like we were some hometown love story. He lived alone in a small, clean duplex with a lawn he didn't care about and a TV that was always too loud. Less people at home, less problems, he always said, cracking a beer like it was gospel. He opened the door and looked me over. Jesus, you look like crap. Feel worse, I muttered. He stepped aside. Get in here. I didn't spill the full story. Not yet. Didn't mention teddy bears or moaning or betrayal that tasted like acid. I just said, listen, I need your help. Barry leaned on the counter, arms crossed. What kind of help? Lucy's son, Leo. He raised an eyebrow. The one who moved in with you? Yeah, I want to know more about him. Background, documents, whatever you can dig up. You work in municipal records. Can you quietly check into it? Barry squinted at me. Why? I just want to understand him. If I'm going to build some kind of trust, I need to know what I'm working with. He took a slow sip of beer. That's a weird kind of trust. You going to help me or not? He studied my face, read the lines I wasn't showing, then he nodded. I'll see what I can find. No promises. Thanks. That night, I texted Lucy. Took an emergency call out, big client out of town for a couple days. She replied 10 minutes later. No worries, babe. Good luck. 3. I didn't sleep that night. Didn't even lie down. Everything I'd known was crumbling. The next afternoon, my phone rang. It was Barry. His voice came through the line, low and steady. Dude, I've got news. I sat up straight in the motel chair. Go. You were right to be suspicious, he said. That kid, Leo? His full name's Leo Mendez, born and raised in Marble Springs, just 30 minutes down the highway. I held my breath. His parents are alive, married, still together. They run a clothing shop downtown, got their own Facebook business page. Tons of photos, holidays, school awards, church crap. He's no foster kid. I stared at the wall. Numb. Barry went on. And get this, their shop? It partners with that boutique fabric store in Hillside. My gut turned. Yeah, Barry said. Lucy's store. My hand curled into a fist on my lap. I guess that's where she met him, man. No long-lost son, no adoption story, no foster trauma vertical bar. He's just a 20-year-old kid she hooked up with during business, I added. Then I heard a clink. Barry placing something on wood. Come over, he said. Now. 15 minutes later, I was at his place. Barry opened the door, looked me in the eye, and poured a full glass of whiskey. He slid it across the table. Drink, then talk. I picked it up with a shaking hand and downed it in one. It burned like hell. I set the glass down, and then I told him. Everything. The bear, the voices, the lies. The night I saw them together, the nightmares, the fake story, the kiss in Leo's room, my failing body, the betrayal. Barry didn't interrupt once, just sat there, jaw tight, eyes cold. When I finished, he leaned back, crossed his arms. We sat there for a long minute, both of us staring at nothing. Then he said, "So, what are you going to do?" I didn't answer right away, because in that moment, something inside me snapped into place. Not anger, not grief, focus. "I'm going to burn it all down," I said quietly. Barry just nodded. Barry put me in touch with a lawyer. Real one, board certified, clean office, thick tie, eyes like steel. Name was Mark Hanley, former assistant DA out of Dallas, now working family and civil litigation in Travis County. We met in a quiet office downtown. No noise, no chatter, just leather chairs, dark wood, and the sound of ruined lives being rebuilt on legal pads. Barry came with me, sat in the corner like backup muscle, didn't say a word. Mark leaned forward, fingers steepled. "So, tell me everything, slowly, from the beginning." I laid it all out. Lucy, the fake son story, Leo moving in, the bear, the recording, the lies. I didn't spare details, not anymore. When I was done, he sat back in his chair and let out a low whistle. "Well," he said, "that's one hell of a goddamn mess." I just nodded. Then his voice sharpened. "Howard, let me tell you exactly how we're going to hit this." He pulled a yellow legal pad toward him and started jotting notes line by line. First, infidelity. Texas is a no-fault divorce state, but infidelity still carries weight. If we can prove your wife had a relationship outside the marriage and it influenced the breakdown of the marriage, it can affect division of property. And you've got that proof, don't you? I nodded. Recording, the bear. Good, he said. Second, fraud on the community estate. If she spent marital funds on this guy, so hotels, gifts, gas, meals, we can go after her share of the assets. The courts don't like it when someone squanders community money for a side piece. He kept writing. Third, intentional infliction of emotional distress. That's civil tort. Not easy to win, but in this case, she manipulated your trust, brought her lover into your home, masquerading as her son. That's not normal marital misconduct. That's malicious deception. He looked up. Juries don't like deception. I clenched my jaw. I want her to feel it. You will, he said. Next, civil conspiracy. If Leo knowingly participated in the fraud, pretended to be her son, moved in under false pretenses, benefited from that lie, we name him too. It strengthens the case. And him living in my house? I asked. Mark gave a grim smile. Exactly. That's trespass. You never gave him legal permission to live there. You were lied to. Add a restitution claim. If he used your property, slept under your roof, ate your food, that's unjust enrichment. We make him pay. He flipped the page. This is going to be a full frontal legal attack, multi-claim strategy. And we time it just right. I nodded slowly. Barry stood up, stretched, and looked at me like we're really doing this. Mark closed his notebook, slid it into a leather briefcase. That's it for now. I'll draft the paperwork tonight. We'll file first thing Monday. Go get some rest. You're going to need it. We shook hands. I walked out with Barry, the sun already low in the sky, casting long shadows down Congress Avenue. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I could breathe. Like maybe I wasn't crazy after all. That night around 10:40, my phone rang. Mark Hanley. I picked up. Hello? His voice was clipped, urgent. Howard, something just came across my desk. I need to see you first thing in the morning. No delays. What happened? A pause. Then, I'll explain when you get here. Just know, this changes the angle, possibly the stakes. All right, I said, pulse rising. What time? 8:30. Don't be late. Bring Barry if you want. Then he hung up. Mark's office, 8:30 a.m. Mark walked in holding a folder. Thick, manila, stamped. His face said it all before he opened his mouth. I stood. What is it? He tossed the folder on the table. Lucy filed first. I blinked. What? She beat us to it. Through a contact, secretary from another firm, apparently a friend of hers, she caught wind of our prep, filed a petition this afternoon. I stared at the folder like it might catch fire. What the hell is she accusing me of? I asked. Performance issue, he said flatly. That word hit like a brick to the gut. What? I said quieter. Mark nodded. Fault-based divorce. She's claiming the marriage broke down because of your dysfunction, citing it as a primary cause. My mouth opened, but nothing came out. My fists clenched at my sides. She's turning that against me? Mark looked at me. Howard, do you have issues in that area? I turned red, looked away. That's none of... What the hell does that have to do with her bringing a fake son into my house? Mark raised a hand. I'm not judging. But if she presents evidence, text messages, journal entries, medical indicators, we've got a problem. I was pacing now. So what? I had a couple bad nights. Because of her lies. That's not a basis for divorce. In Texas, Mark said carefully, it actually is. Physical incapacity, including performance issue, is a valid fault ground. If she argues that it caused her emotional distress and led to the breakdown of the marriage, a judge could consider it. I ran both hands over my face. She cheated, lied, manipulated, and now I'm the one on trial? She's reframing it, he said. Your withholding of closeness forced her into an emotional connection elsewhere, and if she positions it as neglect... I cut him off. Jesus Christ. Barry leaned forward from the corner. So what do we do? Mark exhaled. We lose leverage on several fronts. Emotional distress, fraud. Harder to argue now that she's got a medical angle, a sympathetic one. She plays the sufferer of a cold, withdrawn husband. I dropped into the chair, stared at the table. I'm being gutted by a woman who's cheating with a 20-year-old in my own house. And now, Mark added, she's painting herself as the one who had no choice. I didn't speak for a long time. Then finally, this changes nothing. Mark looked at me, eyebrow raised. I don't care if she's first. I don't care what she filed. We finish what we started. Barry nodded. Damn right. Mark was quiet. Then slowly, he smiled. Then we'll burn her castle to the ground. I don't remember grabbing the keys. Don't remember the drive. All I remember was the heat behind my eyes and my hands locked on the steering wheel like I could crush it bare. I pulled up to the house fast. Tires spitting gravel. And there they were, out back, lounging like nothing had happened. Sunglasses on, cocktails in hand, tanning on my patio like they were on vacation in someone else's life. Lucy in a bikini, Leo shirtless, smiling, relaxed, like they'd won. I walked up, didn't say a word, and flipped the glass table right off its legs. It slammed against the bricks. Glass exploded everywhere. Drinks soaked the concrete. A lemon wedge landed by Leo's bare foot. They both jumped to their feet. What the hell? Lucy yelled. How dare you? I roared. Her face twisted. What did you expect, Howard? I'm not letting you destroy my life. Your life? I stepped toward her. You think you deserve a happy ending after what you did? I have a right to be happy. You lost that right the second you lied to me. Leo stepped in between us, arms out like he was her goddamn bodyguard. Back off, he said. Touch her and you'll regret it. I stared at him. Say that again. I said, crack. I swung before he finished. My fist caught him square in the face. Clean, brutal, loud. He flew backward and landed in the pool with a splash so hard it rocked the water. A red streak trailed behind him as he surfaced, gasping, crimson smear pouring from his nose. Lucy screamed. You're gonna pay for this! You're sick! She shrieked. You'll regret it, you piece of crap. I stood there breathing like a bull. Then I pointed straight at her. We'll see about that. And I turned and walked out before I broke her jaw too. The court date was set. No more stalling. No more second chances. We were officially at war. Mark wasn't happy. You really screwed us, you know that? He said, tossing a copy of the complaint on his desk. She filed a battery claim. Claims you attacked an unarmed guest on your property. He's not a guest, I muttered. He's not yours either, Mark shot back. Now I've got to fight off charges on top of everything else. You gave her leverage, Howard. Real leverage. I didn't argue. Couldn't, he was right. I lost control. And Lucy knew exactly how to use it. But then, the day before the hearing, I got a call. From my doctor. Just some follow-up numbers from the tests I ran weeks ago. It was an ace up my sleeve, one I hadn't even known I had. And Lucy had no idea it was coming. The courtroom was stiff and quiet. Lucy sat across from me in a navy suit, hair perfect, makeup clean. She looked every bit the sufferer, calm, confident, righteous. Leo wasn't there, probably too bruised to show his face. The judge called us forward. Opening statements were brief. Then it was Mark's turn. He stood, slow and cool, walked to the center of the room, and let the pause do its work. "Your Honor," he said, "my client, Mr. Howard Sims, has been accused of multiple failings, including neglect, emotional abandonment, and even battery. Mrs. Sims has filed for fault-based divorce on the grounds of performance issue." He let the word hang a second. "But what if I told you that this performance issue wasn't medical or psychological, but induced?" Lucy's eyes narrowed. Mark turned toward the judge. "We obtained blood and urine analysis from Mr. Sims's recent labs, following persistent symptoms reported to his physician. The results showed elevated levels of spironolactone." He held up the report. "This is a diuretic, but more importantly, it's an anti-androgen. It actively lowers testosterone. In men, it causes breast tenderness, loss of libido, and, yes, erectile dysfunction." Gasps rustled from the bench behind me. Mark's tone sharpened. "Mr. Sims has never been prescribed spironolactone. He has no reason to be on this medication. And yet, repeated tests showed it in his system, in levels consistent with chronic low-dose exposure." He turned toward Lucy. "That means someone was dosing him, quietly, over time, likely through food or drink, likely someone with access to his kitchen, his meals, his trust." Lucy's mouth opened just slightly, then shut again. Mark stepped forward. "We believe Mrs. Sims deliberately poisoned her husband to weaken his body, to reduce closeness, and to establish grounds for a fault-based divorce, benefiting her legally and financially." He dropped the report on the table in front of the judge. "That's not marital discord. That's malicious intent." The courtroom was dead silent. Mark glanced at Lucy, who was now frozen. No more calm, no more mask. The judge adjusted his glasses, glanced at the lab report again, then looked down at both sides. "These are significant new allegations," he said. "I'm placing the proceedings on hold pending further review of the evidence." He banged the gavel lightly. "Court adjourned until further notice." Lucy jumped to her feet. She didn't even look at me, just grabbed her purse and tugged Leo by the wrist. They were halfway to the door when I called out, "Don't rush." They froze. I walked a few steps forward, calm as stone. "You might want to slow down a bit." Lucy turned around, face pale, eyes darting. "Whatever you're going back home to clean up," I said. "I was there yesterday, with a cop, while you two were enjoying your little date night at that French place." Leo tensed. "Kitchen drawer. Behind the vitamins, guest bathroom, top shelf, behind the hair bleach." Lucy's jaw locked. "Everything you thought was hidden? It's not anymore." "It's at the station now, in evidence bags." I stepped closer. "And tomorrow, it's my turn. I'm filing every suit we talked about. Fraud, trespass, poisoning, emotional distress, civil conspiracy." I dropped my voice to a low growl. "You better start getting used to living on sidewalks and eating leftovers from trash cans." That's when she snapped. Lucy lunged at me with a scream. "You piece of crap!" she shrieked, nails slashing across my cheek. Pain shot through my skin, but I didn't move. Two bailiffs rushed in. As they grabbed her arms, she thrashed wildly, hair flying, red-faced. "I made you! I owned you! You're nothing without me!" One of the officers tried to restrain her, but she twisted and bit him on the ear. "Ah! God damn it!" he yelled, stumbling back. That was it. They tackled her, slapped cuffs on, dragged her out of the courtroom, kicking and screaming like an animal. Leo didn't say a word. He just stood there, still, helpless, small. And when he finally looked at me, he didn't look angry. He looked afraid. The courtroom was packed. The final hearing. The ruling day. Lucy sat at the defense table, pristine as ever in her navy blazer and high heels. But you could see the tiny betrayals of her nerves. The fingers gripping her chair, the twitch at the corner of her left eye. Leo wasn't even at the table. He sat 2 rows back, flanked by his parents, Mr. and Mrs. Mendez, silent, stiff, ashamed. My attorney, Mark Hanley, stood without a paper in his hand. He didn't need one. He stepped forward, faced the judge, and said, "Your Honor, this case has never been about a failed marriage. It's about manipulation, fraud, and deliberate injury, orchestrated by one woman and abetted by her accomplice. The judge, a stern man in his 60s with no patience for theatrics, gave a slight nod. Proceed, Mr. Hanley, Mark began. Count 1, infidelity. He turned to Lucy. For months, my client believed this young man, he gestured toward Leo, was his wife's long-lost son. She brought him into their home under that false identity. He stepped to the evidence table. We submitted audio from a surveillance device, a gift, a teddy bear, that captured intimate, unmistakable sounds of a cheating, including his voice, her voice, and their words. He paused, looked the judge straight in the eye. We also have a timeline of hotel receipts, digital transactions, and surveillance footage from 2 motels outside Travis County. Rooms booked under Lucy's business credit card, registered for 2 adults. During dates, Mr. Sims was verifiably out of town. He let that hang. Infidelity. Willfully hidden. Proven. Lucy sat rigid, eyes narrowed, lips tight. Count 2. Fraud on the community estate. Mark paced slowly, steady. Mrs. Sims used marital assets to fund these trips, these bookings, these gifts. She made direct transfers from their joint account to her personal business, then paid for her lover's expenses through it. He flipped open a binder. Exhibit 12, meal receipts, fuel charges, 1 clothing purchase at Mendez Apparel, Leo's family store. She diverted household funds for non-marital use. He turned back to the judge. This is not a gray area. This is a textbook case of fraud against the marital estate. Count 3, intentional infliction of emotional distress. Mark didn't need to raise his voice. My client suffered a sudden, unexplained collapse in his physical well-being. He sought medical help. He blamed himself. Mark paused, quiet, deliberate. And yet, blood panels revealed the presence of spironolactone, a prescription diuretic and anti-androgen, unprescribed, unexplained. He faced Lucy again. She drugged her husband to render him physically incapable of closeness, then used his symptoms to justify seeking a fault-based divorce. He took a breath. That's not negligence. That's psychological warfare. Lucy's lawyer finally stood. Your Honor, we object to the insinuation that Mrs. Sims administered anything knowingly. Objection overruled, the judge said. He's citing tested evidence. Count 4, civil conspiracy. Mark turned his attention to Leo now. Mr. Mendez knowingly assumed a false identity. He allowed himself to be introduced to Mr. Sims under the pretense of being Mrs. Sims's biological son. He gestured to the records. Birth certificates, school records, notarized parental records, all indicate he was raised by Mr. and Mrs. Mendez. His participation was active, sustained, and financially beneficial. Leo shrank in his seat. Your Honor, Mark concluded, this was a 2-person scheme intended to deceive, exploit, and ultimately destabilize my client's mental, physical, and legal standing. Count 5, trespass and unlawful occupancy. He kept going. Mr. Sims was misled into believing Leo was family. That's why he allowed him to live in the marital residence. He held up a signed affidavit. But Leo paid no rent, no lease agreement, no express or implied license of occupancy outside of fraudulent representation. Texas law is clear. Fraudulently obtained occupancy is trespass. Count 6, restitution. Mark walked slowly to the front. All of this cost my client, emotionally, financially, professionally. He lost business, sleep, and dignity. He was publicly embarrassed, and he was made to doubt his own body and mind. He looked at the judge one final time. We are requesting full restitution, $187,000 in direct damages and legal fees. The courtroom was silent. The judge leaned forward. His words were final, flat, without drama. All 6 claims are hereby granted in full. The defendant is ordered to pay restitution. Mr. Leo Mendez is additionally liable for his portion of the civil damages. The Mendez family has consented to pay in full. Mr. and Mrs. Mendez, quiet, dignified, and mortified. They sat in the front row, avoiding eye contact, their faces red with shame. Lucy didn't move, but her hand slipped off the edge of the table, limp. Everything she built, burned. She'd done it to herself. After the verdict, Lucy filed for bankruptcy. She lost everything. The boutique business collapsed. No income, no reputation, no credit. For a while, she moved into the crumbling house her dead parents had left behind. Some old Victorian off Maple Street. Broken roof, moldy walls, plumbing shot to hell. Didn't last long. Next I heard she'd moved into a roadside motel, the kind with buzzing lights and a front desk behind bulletproof glass. She still owed me money. She always would. But the part that stuck with me most didn't come from court. It came from my doctor. He called one day, not for medical results, just to talk. "You didn't hear this from me," he said. But one of the nurses used to work down in Jacksonville. Says she's seen cases like Lucy's before. Like what? I asked. Increased libido, mood swings, grandiosity. It wasn't just selfishness, Howard. He paused. It's schizophrenia. Apparently, Lucy's real diagnosis had come out later, after the collapse, after the arrests, after the court ordered a full psychological evaluation. Her sister, some nurse from Florida, showed up out of nowhere and took her in, paid off her last motel night and drove her out of state. They say she's in treatment now. I thought I was also done with Leo, but some stains don't wash out that easy. Turns out he couldn't keep his mouth shut. Started writing disgusting crap about me online. On forums, socials, even a blog no one asked for. Tried to twist everything that happened in court like he was the sufferer. Now here's the thing. When you've worked with your hands your whole life in a small town, you meet people. Not lawyers, not influencers, real people. Mechanics, barbers, bartenders, and bikers, especially bikers. I've rebuilt enough engines and polished enough chrome to know half the MCs within a 100-mile radius. One of them, Big Rob, runs a custom shop out on 79. Big guy, quiet, looks like a grizzly in a denim vest. I gave him a call. Told him what Leo was doing, told him about the blog, the lies. Told him I wasn't looking for blood, just a message. Something that sticks better than a cease and desist letter. Rob didn't ask questions, didn't need to. 2 nights later, Leo's Honda got boxed in behind a liquor store. One bike pulled in from the front, another blocked the exit, 2 more flanked the sides, 4 engines growling, 4 men in black, helmets on, visors down. Leo stepped out of the store with a bottle of cheap tequila in one hand and a smirk on his face. The smirk didn't last. They didn't speak much, just took him around back behind the dumpsters. One of them said, "Calm as Sunday, message from someone you know." Then came the fists. Nothing too rough, nothing permanent. Just enough to make him remember. Enough to knock that smug smirk off his face. To give him something to look over his shoulder about for a while. The next morning, Rob texted me one word. Done. And I smiled. Not proud, not ashamed, just even. Balanced. Some men learn from the law. Others need a different kind of lesson. Leo got both. As for me, things turned around. In every way. And yeah. The other kind of up came back too. I'm feeling like a full-blooded man again. Strong, grounded, capable.